Hi, and thanks for tuning in. So now we already have coined the term a climate change denier. So pretty soon we're going to have the term a coronavirus denier. So what is this denial? And why are we going to need a new kind of viral or other crisis every year at least, or even more often? Thank you. Hi, and hello to you on a beautiful sunny afternoon here in Southeast Asia. Just listening to some commentary from independent medical experts who will never make mass media or social media, including people like Shai Arkin, Michael Levitt, and very interestingly, I've just been watching a couple of days ago, Professor Wolfgang Wodak, who is a world-renowned professor of respiratory medicine, research fellow, epidemiologist, and practitioner of environmental medicine. And it's very interesting listening to them because whilst, of course, they 100% acknowledge the reality of the coronavirus, they also 100% acknowledge the reality of the purpose of media hyping of coronaviruses and of state-sponsored lockdowns. So why would that be the case? Well, ladies and gentlemen, you're in a conflict now anyway, in many countries of the world. In particular in Europe, but elsewhere too, you're now in conflict with the state as the state tries to survive. And the state is very interested in reinforcing its elite position and authoritarian position in society. There's no other way that it can survive. It's very interested in sponsoring its big business links, in particular the pharmaceutical business, the diagnostics business. That's just absolutely huge. And all of the research organizations that are sponsored by the state, which feeds science into the state, but they're not free at all, because their paymaster requires a certain political result from them. So environmentally, medically, in terms of political correctness, isms and phobias, travel bans, which have been increasing anyway before this latest coronavirus thing came along. We're getting more and more into a lockdown, and that lockdown is going to continue to destroy the middle class and impoverish the working class, whilst it reinforces a non-democratic elite stratum, which is a global elite stratum. Now, I'm not saying we shouldn't do globalization. We are doing globalization, and we will, or we have been doing globalization. Okay, we're doing parochialization at the moment because the global elite would like to survive, maintain, and enhance their positions. But the background trend of globalization has in no way stopped, and it will come. And the nation states will need to be maintained in place, and nation states and also nationalism are going to be reinforced by populaces that see their livelihood disappearing into supranational structures like the European Union, for example. So what about the coronavirus? Please take the precautions for the coronavirus. I see basically, I don't have to preach, I see basically almost no one is taking precautions against the coronavirus, but really you should. Because if you did take precautions against one of this year's novel coronaviruses, because every year we have novel coronaviruses, and all of those respiratory tract viruses are coronaviruses, but the one from this year has become an incredible source of hysteria in media. And in media we have lots and lots of images and moving images used out of context. We've got hugely emotional pleas from medical staff, God bless them, for remaining in the front line in this total pandemonium. Hospitals are bursting at the seams, and overall we have a reduced coronavirus mortality rate and a reduced coronavirus infection rate compared to, in certain countries, compared to previous years. In particular, I understand that in Italy, quite clearly, the viral infection rate with coronavirus this year is lower than it has been in previous years. That doesn't mean that doesn't mean there's a lot of secondary infections that are not happening, and very serious trouble in Italian hospitals right now, which have become really frontline places of combat with valiant doctors and nurses trying to keep up with it. But if we could take precautions for coronaviruses in general, every year, then we won't get into this type of authoritarian lockdown situation. But please kindly mark my words. When this gets over, if it ever finishes, we're going to need a new crisis every year, or more than every year, more than once a year, and it's going to be very easy to find those crises because you already know what they are. They're already in terrorism, they're already in the relationship between religion and the state and the populace, nationalism versus globalization, gender identity, identity politics as opposed to psychographics, and the identity of the individual. All of those things are suitable for creating massive crises. So we may like to think twice before we get into the brave new world that we're being offered. Don't forget now, everything of course works on mobile devices, so your mobile device knows what content you consult, where you go, who you meet, what you're doing. So artificial intelligence doesn't understand you, but it doesn't really have to, right? Because it's going to be your gateway to the world. In many cities now, in different countries, which have fantastic positive aspects as well, but perhaps we're perceiving in the West some of the negative aspects about having citizenship scores, and also, you can't even get in your house without scanning the code from your mobile phone. So the mobile device is becoming your gateway to the world, and this makes it very, very easy, much easier to lock you down, far more than controlling your mobility, as we have travel lockdowns, we have airline bankruptcies, we'll come back to national carriers. So look at that big match for power taking place, and you may wish to refuse it, because you're not just going to have a citizenship score, you're going to have a viral score, and or a viral risk score, and of course, and as travel becomes more and more a privilege of the elite, your viral risk score is going to play a lot in your ability to travel anywhere, right? Because you're already pre-approved now by airlines before you travel, according to their databases, which apparently don't run very smoothly globally, but they will. So as we have the parochialization at the moment, the parochialization or the inward-looking phase of nations at the moment is not accidental. It's there because you need to reaffirm your place in society. But don't forget, the global elite will use that in order to lock you down and to call you a this ist and a that ist, and to look at the types of institutions that you're attached to and change the way those institutions work in order to maintain authority, maintain wealth at the levels that global elite supranational stratum currently requires to operate at. So I hope you have a beautiful day. Take all of the precautions, refuse the mandate to assimilate, and participate in a glorious cultural expression of defiance, peaceful expression of your personality as a human and your innate right to interact with other people in order to make a constructive, discursive, and progressive society that looks to the future instead of tearing the present and the past to shreds. You look to the future and you're trying to build together, to collaborate, to communicate, and to construct. Many thanks indeed. Have a beautiful day.